Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Dr. Rebecca Reynolds, and I am the founder of Reynolds Provisions. I truly appreciate you taking the time to engage in this important conversation about children, trauma, and healing. Today's session focuses on how trauma impacts children's brains, behavior, and overall development, and most importantly, how caring adults can respond in ways that promote safety, regulation, and healing. This presentation is designed for parents, caregivers, educators, and helping professionals. This recognizes that children are supported across many environments: home, school, childcare, and community settings. Research consistently shows that early experiences shape brain development. One foundational theorist in this area is Bruce Perry. His work in neurodevelopment and trauma explains that children's brains develop from the bottom up, prioritizing survival and emotional regulation before higher level thinking and learning. When a child experiences trauma such as abuse, neglect, loss, or chronic stress, the brain shifts into survival mode. This can impact attention, impulse control, emotional regulation, and behavior. What may appear as challenging behavior is often the child's nervous system communicating stress or unmet needs rather than intentional defiance. From a developmental perspective, this aligns with attachment theory, originally proposed by John Bowlby, which emphasizes that children need consistent, responsive caregiving to develop a sense of safety and trust. When trauma disrupts this sense of safety, children may struggle with relationships, emotional regulation, and definitely learning. However, the encouraging news is that healing is possible. Safe, predictable, and supportive relationships with adults can help rewire the brain and strengthen resilience. Throughout this session, we will explore trauma through strength-based, trauma-informed lens. Rather than asking, what is wrong with this child? We're going to shift that perspective and we're going to ask, what has this child experienced and how can I help? By understanding how trauma affects development, adults are better equipped to respond with empathy, structure, and appropriate support strategies that foster growth and recovery. Please note that this presentation is educational in nature. It is intended to increase awareness and understanding. It is not a substitute for medical, psychological, or mental health treatment. When concerns exceed the scope of everyday caregiving or education, referral to qualified professionals is essential. Thank you again for being here and for the work you do every day to support our children. Your presence and willingness to learn play a powerful role in helping children feel safe, seen, and supported. Who are we? Why are we here? As we move forward in this session, it is important to ground our learning in both research and reflective practice. Trauma-informed education emphasizes that children's behaviors are deeply connected to the neurological and emotional development, and that adults play a critical role in helping to shape healing environments. Bruce Perry's neurosequential model of therapeutics helps us understand that children who have experienced trauma often function from a survival state. This means that their brains are focused on safety before they can access reasoning, language, or learning. This explains why traditional discipline or verbal instruction alone is often ineffective for children impacted by trauma. Aligning with NACI developmentally appropriate practice and DCFS trauma-informed care principles, adults are encouraged to respond with consistency, predictability, and relationship-based strategies. Creating emotionally safe environments using calm and regulated responses and building trusting relationships, well, it all helps children gradually move from survival to regulation and learning. Trauma-informed care reminds us that healing happens in connection, not with correction. As you reflect on this information, consider the following question as we transition to the next session. How might your responses change if you viewed children's behavior as communication rather than defiance? This mindset shift is foundational to supporting resilience, equity, and healthy development for all children. How do you define trauma? Before we define trauma from a clinical or professional perspective, it is important to pause and reflect on how we each personally understand it. Trauma does not look or feel the same for everyone. Our perceptions of trauma are shaped by our culture, lived experiences, family systems, community support, and even the language we use to describe difficult events. What one person identifies as traumatic, another person may not, and neither experience is more valid than the other. Taking time to reflect on our own definition of trauma helps us recognize potential biases, assumptions, or blind spots we may carry into our work with children and families. This reflection is especially important because children experience trauma differently than adults. Children may not have the language, emotional regulation skills, or cognitive development needed to fully understand or explain what they are feeling. Instead, trauma often shows up through behavior, play, emotional reactions, or changes in development. By intentionally slowing down and examining our own understanding, we strengthen our ability to respond with empathy rather than judgment. This practice supports trauma-informed care by reminding us that meaning matters just as much as events themselves. At this time, please pause the video and write down your personal definition of trauma. If possible, ask another person to share their definition with you. When you return, we will build on these reflections to deepen our shared understanding. Trauma is not defined solely by the event itself, but by how an individual's nervous system experiences and processes the event. Two children might experience the same situation, yet their bodies and brains may respond very differently. This is because trauma is stored not only as a memory, but also in the sensory and emotional regions of the brain that control survival, stress responses, and emotional regulation. When a child experiences trauma, the brain may remain in a heightened state of alert, constantly scanning for danger, even when the threat has passed. As a result, children might react physically or emotionally without understanding why themselves. These reactions can include sudden fear, aggression, withdrawal, hyperactivity, or difficulty concentrating. From the outside, these behaviors may appear confusing or challenging, but from a trauma-informed perspective, they are the nervous system's attempt to protect the child. Children are not choosing these responses. Their bodies are responding automatically based on past experiences. The role of adults is not to fix these behaviors, but to help rebuild a sense of safety, predictability, and connection. Consistent routines, calm and regulated adult responses, and nurturing relationships send powerful signals to the brain that it is safe to relax. Over time, these supportive experiences allow the brain to move out of survival mode and back into a state where learning, growth, and healthy development can occur. What trauma can look like in children. Trauma often shows up as behavior because children lack the language to explain their feelings. You might see intense emotions, emotional numbness, changes in sleep or eating, or regression to earlier developmental stages. School challenges such as attention difficulties or behavior concerns, well, they're common. These behaviors are adaptive responses, not misbehavior. Flight responses occur when the brain believes escape is the safest option. Children might run away, avoid tasks, appear restless, or refuse to engage. This can be mistaken for defiance or attention problems. Adults can help by reducing pressure, offering grounding strategies, and restoring a sense of control and safety. Freeze responses happen when the brain perceives neither fight nor flight as safe options. Children might appear quiet, withdrawn, disassociated, or checked out. These children are often overlooked because they are not disruptive. Gentle engagement, reassurance, and predictable routines, well, they're essential for helping them feel safe again. Fawn responses involve pleasing others to avoid conflict and danger. Children might over-apologize, comply excessively, or suppress their own needs, while often praised for being the easy children who may struggle with anxiety and boundaries. Caregivers should model healthy assertiveness and reassure children that their needs do matter. Trauma reactions are survival responses. When a child perceives danger, the brain shifts into survival mode. The amygdala, which detects threat, becomes highly active, while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning, impulse control, and learning, goes offline. Stress and trauma literally impact brain development. This is why traumatized children might struggle to listen, think logically, or regulate emotions. Their brain is focused on staying alive. It's not focused on learning. One of the strongest protective factors against trauma is a stable relationship with a caring adult. Consistent, responsive caregiving helps regulate stress hormones and supports brain development. Even one supportive adult can significantly improve long-term outcomes. Healing happens in relationships, not in isolation. Young children experience trauma through their bodies rather than through words. You might see clinginess, separation anxiety, regression in toileting or speech, or frequent temper tantrums. Sleep disturbances and reenactment through play are common. These behaviors reflect a need for safety and reassurance. Thankfully, there are ways caregivers can help. Predictable routines play a very powerful role in helping young children feel safe and secure, especially after stressful or traumatic experiences. When children know what to expect, their nervous system can relax, making it easier to regulate emotions and behavior. Using simple, honest language helps children make sense of what is happening around them without overwhelming them with details they are not developmentally ready to process. Answering questions briefly and calmly reassures children while maintaining a sense of safety. Physical comfort, such as a hug, sitting nearby, or holding a hand, can be very regulating when it is welcomed by the child. Additionally, play, art, and storytelling provide children with natural ways to express emotions they cannot yet put into words. These expressive activities allow children to process experiences at their own pace and developmentally appropriate ways. Children have experienced trauma may show common reactions such as heightened anxiety or fearfulness, aggression or irritability, withdrawal or emotional numbness, regression in skills such as toileting or sleep, and difficulty concentrating or following directions. Caregivers can support healing by maintaining consistent routines, responding with calm and predictable behavior, offering choices to restore a sense of control, providing opportunities for play and creative expression, and building strong, trusting relationships through being present and empathy. These supports help children feel safe enough to heal and grow. What to expect by age 6 through 12 years? You're going to find some similarities and differences between this and other age groups. School-age children are often better able to verbalize their thoughts and feelings than the younger children, but they still may struggle with emotional regulation, especially after experiencing a trauma. While children in this age range may understand that something distressing has happened, they often lack the developmental skills needed to fully process or cope with it. Trauma might present as irritability, aggression, mood swings, or even withdrawal. Some children experience nightmares or disrupted sleep, while others develop physical complaints such as headaches or stomach aches with no medical cause, or at least one that can be recognized. It is also common for children to blame themselves for what happened, believing they could have prevented the event. Academic performance might decline as trauma interferes with attention, memory, and the ability to concentrate. Common trauma reactions. Well, these can include increased irritability or anger, nightmares, sleep disturbances, difficulty concentrating, learning, physical complaints, self-blame, or feelings of guilt. That's one that could really damage a child's self-esteem, feeling of self-worth. So, how can caregivers help? Caregivers play a vital role in supporting healing by creating environments that feel safe, predictable, and emotionally supportive. Ways caregivers can help? Listen without judgment. Allow children to share at their own pace. Don't push it. Validate their feelings while setting clear, consistent boundaries. For example, you could say, I think you're feeling sad, or I can see you're crying. Does that mean you're sad? Talk to them about the emotion. Help them process the information. Offer choices to restore a sense of control and autonomy. Maintain consistent routines at home and at school. This is important. Make sure you're communicating with each other, teachers and parents. Children are depending on it. Collaborate. Teachers, counselors, other professionals provide unified support. These strategies help children feel understood, supported, and capable of healing. What to expect by ages 13 through 18 years? Adolescents are developmentally capable of abstract thinking and deeper emotional awareness, much better than the younger children. Yet trauma can significantly disrupt this stage of growth. Teens might be able to articulate what they are feeling, but they're often struggle to regulate intense emotions or trust others with their experiences. Trauma during adolescence might present as mood swings, irritability, withdrawal from family or peers, or increased risk-taking behaviors. Some teens experience anxiety, depression, or feelings of hopelessness, while others might express distress through anger or defiance. Sleep disturbances, changes in appetite, and difficulty concentrating are also very common. Adolescents might question their identity or sense of worth, and some might carry deep shame or self-blame related to what they experienced. Academic performance can decline as trauma impacts motivation, memory, and executive functioning. Common trauma reactions can include emotional withdrawal, isolation, mood swings, anger, irritability, risk-taking, or self-destructive behaviors, anxiety, depression, or feelings of hopelessness, difficulty concentrating or disengagement from school. Now, how can we help? Supportive adults remain essential during adolescence, even when teens appear resistant. We need to create safe spaces for open, respectful conversations, validate emotions without minimizing or lecturing, encourage healthy coping strategies and self-expression, maintain consistent expectations and supportive boundaries, connect teens with counselors or trusted professionals when needed. These supports help adolescents feel respected, understood, and supported as they heal and move toward independence. Why, in the moment, responses matter. When a child is dysregulated, they are not making a conscious choice to misbehave. Their nervous system is responding to a perceived threat. During these moments, the thinking part of the brain, known as the prefrontal cortex, well, it's largely offline. Because of this, reasoning, lecturing, or asking why questions is ineffective and can actually increase distress. When children need most in this moment is co-regulation, where a calm, supportive adult helps their nervous system return to a regulated state. The immediate goal is safety and emotional regulation, not teaching a lesson or enforcing consequences. Pause and breathe. Begin by regulating yourself. Slow, steady breathing helps your body stay calm and signals safety to the child. Name safety. Use clear, reassuring language such as, "You're safe right now," or "I'm here with you." Validate. Acknowledge the child's feelings without judgment. Say something like, "I can see you're really upset." Offer choices. Simple choices restore a sense of control, such as choosing where to sit or how to calm your body. Set limits. Maintain clear, calm boundaries, focused on safety, not punishment. Repair and connect. Once the child is calm, reconnect through conversation, reassurance, and relationship building. These help children feel safe, supported, and ready to learn when regulation returns. When possible, be sure to reduce stressors and create a safe, supportive environment. Trauma-informed care is grounded in the principles of safety, trust, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. These principles guide how adults interact with children who have experienced stress or trauma, ensuring that responses promote healing rather than re-traumatization. Trauma-informed care shifts the focus from "what's wrong with you" to "what happened to you and how can I help?" Reflecting on your own coping strategies is a critical part of this approach because children learn first and foremost through observation. When adults model calm responses, healthy boundaries, and self-regulation, children are more likely to develop those same skills. Conversely, when adults are overwhelmed or dysregulated, children often mirror that stress. This is why self-care is not selfish, it's protective. Caring for ourselves strengthens our capacity to care for others and supports consistent, regulated responses during challenging moments. At this time, please pause the video and reflect on your own understanding of trauma-informed care. Take a moment and write down your personal definition of trauma care. If possible, discuss your definition with another person and notice similarities or differences. When you return, we will explore how these definitions connect to trauma-informed practices in everyday caregiving and educational settings. Trauma-informed practices are approaches to caregiving and education that recognize the widespread impact of trauma and understand how it affects children's behavior, learning, and relationships. Rather than asking, "What's wrong with this child?" trauma-informed practices shift the focus to what happened and how can I help? This mindset change allows adults to respond with empathy, structure, and support rather than punishment or shame. Trauma-informed environments prioritize safety, trust, consistency, and emotional regulation because children cannot learn or connect when they feel unsafe. Children who have experienced trauma may express their stress in a variety of ways. Aggression or temper tantrums may occur when a child feels overwhelmed or threatened and lacks the skills to regulate strong emotions. They could withdraw or emotionally shut down. This can be a child's way of protecting themselves from further stress. Sleep disturbances, including nightmares or difficulty falling asleep, are common as the brain remains in a heightened state of alert. Separation anxiety may increase as children seek reassurance that caregivers will return and keep them safe. Some children may engage in reenactment during play, repeating aspects of the traumatic experience as a way to process it. Others may experience somatic complaints such as a headache or stomach ache when emotional distress is expressed physically. Responding with calm, predictable routines and nurturing relationships helps children feel safe, reduces re-traumatization, and supports healing, learning, and long-term resilience. A moment now to reflect on how you cope when your child is reacting to their own trauma or stress. In challenging moments, notice what happens to your body and emotions. Do you feel your muscles tense, your breathing speed up, or your thoughts race? You may feel frustrated, overwhelmed, helpless, or rushed to fix the situation as quickly as possible. These reactions are human and understandable, especially when caring deeply for a child who is struggling. There is no right or wrong response. Awareness, that's the first step. When adults are under stress, the nervous system can also shift into survival mode, making it harder to stay calm or think clearly. Recognizing your own stress signals allows you to pause rather than react automatically. This pause creates space for more intentional responses that support both you and your child. When you slow your breathing, soften your body, or ground yourself in the moment, you are modeling regulation for your child. Children learn emotional regulation not through lectures, but they learn it by observing how trusted adults manage stress. Your calm presence sends a powerful message of safety and reassurance. By tending to your own regulation, you strengthen your ability to co-regulate, helping your child feel supported, understood, and safe enough to heal. Knowing when to seek help is a vital part of supporting a child who has been affected by trauma. While many stress reactions are common and can improve with time, support, and consistency, there might be moments when additional help is needed. If a child's behaviors are intense, persistent, or worsening over time, or if they significantly interfere with daily routines such as sleep, school performance, or relationships, it might be time to reach out for professional guidance. Warning signs can include ongoing emotional distress, frequent outbursts, extreme withdrawal, changes in appetite or sleep, or difficulty functioning in familiar settings. It is especially important to seek help if a child expresses thoughts about harming themselves or others, engages in risky behaviors, or seems disconnected from reality. Caregivers should also pay attention to their own well-being. Feeling constantly overwhelmed, exhausted, or unsure how to respond are indicators that additional support could be beneficial for the entire family, caretakers, and teachers. Reaching out to a pediatrician, mental health professional, school counselor, or trusted community resource is a proactive step toward healing. Seeking help is not a sign of failure. It is an act of care and advocacy. Early intervention with teamwork can reduce long-term stress, strengthen coping skills, and help both children and caregivers feel supported, empowered, and hopeful moving forward. If this training is being held in person, this activity is designed to demonstrate how safety and trust are built through clear, supportive communication. In this exercise, one partner is blindfolded to represent a child navigating uncertainty, stress, or fear. Without visual input, the blindfolded participant must rely entirely on verbal guidance, much like a child relies on trusted adults during moments of dysregulation. The guiding partner's tone, pace, and clarity directly influence how safe the blindfolded partner feels. Calm, patient directions help build confidence, while rushed, vague, or frustrated communication can increase anxiety and confusion. This mirrors how children experience adult responses during stressful moments. The activity reinforces the importance of slowing down, using clear language, and offering reassurance. It highlights how trust is not built through control, but through consistency, empathy, and attuned communication. If this training is being completed virtually or through a recorded video, take a moment to reflect on your own communication style. Consider how giving directions when you are stressed or when a child's emotions are intense. Do your words become rushed or sharper in tone? Are instructions clear and supportive? This reflection helps strengthen awareness of how adult communication directly impacts a child's sense of safety and ability to regulate. Let's make this work across spaces and work together. Children feel safest when the adults in their lives respond in consistent and predictable ways. Consistency across home, school, and caregiving environments helps strengthen emotional regulation and reduces confusion during stressful moments. When expectations, language, and calming strategies are aligned, children are better able to trust their surroundings and use coping skills successfully. Sharing a child's coping plan with trusted adults, such as teachers, child care providers, family members, or therapists, helps to ensure that the child receives the same supportive responses, no matter where they are. Digital copies of the plan can be especially helpful for families navigating virtual learning, shared custody arrangements, or multiple caregiving settings. Having the plan easily accessible allows adults to reference it in real time and respond more intentionally. It is also important to revisit and update the plan regularly. As children's needs, triggers, and coping skills change as the children grow and develop. So, create a family coping plan. A family coping plan prepares everyone for emotional stress before it happens, rather than reacting in the moment. Families have a shared roadmap for support. Keeping the plan simple, visible, and easy to understand increases the likelihood that it will be used. Practicing the plan during calm moments helps both adults and children feel confident and prepared when challenges arise, strengthening connection, regulation, and resilience over time. Why self-care matters for caregivers? Self-care is not a luxury or an optional add-on. It is a critical component of providing appropriate, effective care to children who have experienced trauma. When adults are chronically stressed, exhausted, or emotionally overwhelmed, their nervous systems remain in a heightened state of alert. In this state, it becomes much harder to respond calmly, consistently, and thoughtfully to children's needs, especially during moments of dysregulation. Children regulate their emotions through relationships. This process, known as co-regulation, means that children rely on the emotional stability and presence of trusted adults to help their own nervous systems feel safe. When caregivers are regulated, children are more likely to calm, focus, and engage. When caregivers are overwhelmed, children often absorb that stress, intensifying emotional and behavioral challenges. Practicing self-care allows adults to pause, breathe, and respond rather than react. This does not require perfection or elaborate routines. Even small intentional practices, such as taking breaks, setting boundaries, seeking support, or tending to basic physical and emotional needs, can make a meaningful difference. Caring for yourself strengthens your capacity to offer patience, empathy, and consistency. In doing so, you create the steady, supportive environment that traumatized children need to heal, build resilience, and thrive. Let's make this work. Children are best able to regulate their emotions when they experience consistency across home, school, and caregiving environments. When adults use similar language, expectations, and calming strategies, children feel supported and safe no matter where they are. Sharing a family coping plan with trusted adults, such as teachers, providers, relatives, or counselors, it helps to create this sense of continuity. Digital copies of the plan can be especially helpful for families navigating virtual learning, shared custody, or multiple caregivers. Revisiting the plan regularly allows it to grow with the child as needs, triggers, and coping skills change. Don't forget, create your family coping plan. A family coping plan prepares everyone for stressful moments before they happen. Start by creating a simple, clear list that is easy to access and understand. You could include emergency numbers written near the phone or entered into a child's cell phone memory. Things like 911, trusted friends, family members, pediatrician, crisis line if needed. Names and contact information of trusted adults the child can go to for help. Early warning signs that your child is becoming overwhelmed. Coping strategies that work for your child could be deep breathing, physical movement, quiet space, sensory tools, or others. Calm down phrases adults will use consistently. Safe places at home or school where the child can regulate. A plan for reconnection after a stressful moment. Encourage children to help choose coping tools so they feel ownership and empowerment. Review the plan after stressful events to reflect on what helped and make adjustments as needed. Training summary and next steps. Throughout this training, we explored how trauma affects children's brains, behavior, and development, and how supportive, responsive adults can play a very powerful role in healing. We discussed how trauma is experienced through the nervous system, why children might react with behaviors such as aggression, withdrawal, sleep challenges, or physical complaints, and why these responses are not choices, but survival. We emphasize the importance of predictable routines, calm in the moment responses, and strong, trusting relationships across home, school, and caregiving environments. You learned how co-regulation, clear communication, and consistent support help children feel safe enough to return to learning and growth. We also highlighted the importance of caregiver self-care, reflection, and knowing when to seek additional help. Creating and sharing a family coping plan was identified as a practical tool to support regulation and consistency across settings. While supportive adults make a significant difference, it is important to remember that no one has to do this work alone. When concerns persist or feel overwhelming, reaching out to outside resources such as pediatricians, mental health professionals, school counselors, community agencies, or crisis supports. Reaching out is a sign of strength and care. Continued learning, collaboration, and support help ensure that both children and caregivers are empowered, supported, and resilient.